This meeting of the City Council meeting as a committee of a whole to order. Please call the roll. Phyllis?
Ms. Chenoweth? Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Huth? Ms. Pat? Present. Mr. Otto? Mr. Otto?
Here.
Mr. Whalen?
Funny night.
Mr. Whalen?
Here.
Ms. Wyman? Here. Mayor Satterthwaite?
Here. I will remark that Ms. Chenoweth has laryngitis, and so she will not be making any extended vocal arguments tonight.
We'll make them for her.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is the minutes of the previous meeting. Do we have any additions to the agenda? No. Okay. The staff report?
I have nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Good. Minutes. The minutes of the previous meeting, do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
They've been moved. Approval has been moved and second. Is there any additions or deletions? On an uneventful night. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes. This is the time for the public to speak to us. And we have 3 people who have signed to these input cards to speak with us. If you will, please come up to the table, speak for 5 minutes, and I will start with Christina Wilson, is it? Nelson. Christina Nelson from 2108 Grange Avenue in Urbana. Pardon me? Drive. Oh, Grange Drive, yes. Thank you. Oh, that's right. Yes, Ms. Wilson.
And I'll try to keep it to 5 minutes. Is this thing on?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, as long as you can all hear me. I came before this group last summer to urge you to pass a new ordinance that would help some of us control the cats in our neighborhood, and I'm here to comment on the proposed ordinance. And I'm also here with a videotape if anyone would like to see the offenders, the offending animals. Caught in the act, as it were. I'm in favor of this because it's better than what we've got. It's interesting because you've addressed the real problem, which is the owners, not the animals. And there are undoubtedly people, if there are people against the ordinance who speak after me, they will undoubtedly be projecting their own wants, desires, needs on their animals. But in fact, this is about people, not animals. It's an owner problem, not necessarily a cat problem. And this would at least provide a safety net for people like me who are being victimized by defiant, not just recalcitrant, but defiant and antisocial neighbors. Since last summer, one of the 2 owners that was letting their multiple cats run loose, one of the owners we've resolved our issue. So it now narrows down to one person catty-cornered across the street from me who has at least 4 cats that I have counted. One in particular has taken up residence in my yard. It's an unneutered male, so he's probably sort of marked his territory as well. And I've talked to the neighbor about it, and he absolutely categorically refuses to keep his animals out of my yard. He doesn't have a problem with his pets coming to my yard to kill my pets. I watch birds. I garden. The cat comes into my yard, jumps into the bird bath and grabs birds. It defecates in my flower beds. I'm an enthusiastic gardener. We actually had to shovel cat feces out from under one of the things that we were mulching the other day. It's a health hazard. The animal destroys property, and it kills my birds. And he doesn't have a problem with his pets killing my pets. It's interesting when you think about this whole issue because we can control a number of other things in our neighborhoods. In fact, my poor neighbor regularly gets starchy little notes from the city because the people behind him complain that he hasn't cut the weeds. We can complain if somebody doesn't cut their yard. We can complain about things that affect our environment, but in fact aren't even happening on our own property. So why shouldn't I be allowed to control what happens on my property when we're talking about health and safety issues? I mean, I can get the city to come tell a neighbor to cut down their poison ivy. So why shouldn't I be able to control what actually goes on my own property? Because in the end, as I said last summer, it's my name on the deed, and I'm the one who pays the taxes. So the animals in question are very trap savvy. And I have videotape of this one walking into the trap all the way in, but he never steps on the plate to snap the trap shut. So and I know where he lives. I have him sitting in his own front yard. So why shouldn't I be able to have this man fined to keep these animals out of my yard? Because only a fine is going to make this antisocial person do that. He has, shall we say, a history of run-ins with the law, and I frankly fear for my own safety after a certain point trying to get this man to keep his animals home. So if the city could be a sort of neutral buffer, or a third party to keep a running list or a paper trail of what goes on, then I would certainly feel more secure. And I urge you to give every consideration to this, and even though it's not perfect, I do hope that you will all pass it, because it addresses the owner problem, not necessarily the animal problem. Thanks.
The next person to speak is Julie Gamble from 2107 Grange Drive with reservation about the ordinance. Please.
Oh, thanks. My name is Judy Gamble.
Yes.
I will admit, when I moved into the city of Urbana, it never occurred to me in my wildest dreams that I would be required to provide a fecal deposit zone in my front yard for the neighborhood cats. We've done a number of things to clean up the yard, and it seems to be endless, and I would appeal for your help in reducing this hazard. To me, it's a health hazard. Our front yard has become pretty much unusable unless we're out there to clean up all the time because of our grandchildren coming. And we've done everything we can think of in working with Chelsea to reduce this hazard, and we've been unsuccessful. I've brought a number of papers about the health hazards of free-range domestic cats, and you're welcome to look at them. I've got a couple of pictures that we made of, these are cats that are in our front yard. This cat lives down at the end of the block. It was over a couple of days ago this week. It dearly loves to antagonize our dog. Its favorite thing is to lie in the driveway and flip the end of its tail while the dog has hysterics, wanting it to leave. Trapping doesn't work, because we too have had the trap played hard with Chelsea, and these are domestic cats, and they become trap-wise very quickly. The other health hazards have to do with the cats themselves. They are prone to pick up disease while they're out roaming and hunting. And we also feed the birds, and these cats take over the bird bath as well as the area around the bird feeders. My understanding is we are not discussing feral cats. We're discussing domestic pets of known names, of known owners. I am concerned. Why would the cat owners kill their cats, that they would let them run? That bothers me a lot. My reservation about this ordinance has to do with our responsibility, apparently, to notify the cat owners. If you would like to look at Section B1, It is the affirmative responsibility of every owner, possessor, or keeper of a cat to ensure the cat does not enter onto the property of any other person who has informed the owner, possessor, or keeper of the cat, either verbally or in writing, that the property owner or the person who has lawful possession of the property does not want the cat on that property. That's a tough one. We don't always know who these cats are, and we don't always know where they belong. We are not always able to catch them, and I think it's really unfortunate if we are required to go through this whole discovery process and inform the cat owners ourselves that the cat is to not be on our property. I guess that means that if people don't inform them that the cat could go on Lot A but not Lot B, and on Lot C but not on Lot D, that to me is just a very difficult environment. So I would appreciate your voting for this, but I would also appreciate more discussion about a better way to prevent this problem than by having us go find the cat owners and ask them to keep their cats at home. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Ms. Pat.
Do you have any ideas of how, if a cat comes onto the property and you don't know whose cat it is, how we might be able to enforce this, or if we were to take out the provision requiring notice to the owner, are you thinking you could call animal control and they'd come take the cat?
I would prefer that the city take responsibility. If I can deliver the cat to you either by having the animal control officer catch it, then it seems to me it's a matter of taking it to the Humane Society and the owner showing up or something. I don't think we do it this way with dogs. If the dog is loose, the dog is impounded. I think if the cat is loose, the cat should also be impounded without our having to go through this fact-finding and confrontation time. There are some of the cat owners around who are very, 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 very adamant that their cats own their yard as well as mine. And I just as soon have a little help with that, if that's okay with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Very well. Next person to speak to us is April. Questions? April, welcome.
Thank you. I'll be real brief. Obviously, I'm here in support of the license agreement to allow us to install utilities on the east side of the campus and the parking agreement for swapping out meters on Clark Street, essentially. I'd be glad to answer any questions the council may have. Alderperson Wyman and I were talking a little bit before the meeting, too. I just might comment that the East Campus Commercial Center is out of the ground. It's making a lot of progress. They're beginning to talk to tenants. It's very exciting to see it coming to fruition and hopefully be open and operating. They are, as far as I know, on schedule and moving right along. And so by next summer, you'll have retail space in that area, and by fall, you'll have occupancy of the units above. I'd also like to wish Mr. Walden a happy birthday, but I won't comment about how old he is because he's 1 week younger than I am, and so if I comment on public television, everyone will know. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Ms. Wyman.
Yeah, I appreciate you commenting on the East Campus Commercial District. I wanted to clarify because it seemed in the memos that there's, not only are we looking at, or what you and I had discussed about the area near Cranard, but is there also going to be commercial on University Avenue in the big parking deck?
In the parking deck on the south side, there will be retail space all along Clark Street and sort of the same kind of pedestrian environment, we hope, in terms of caffeine. We will have immediately south of that, NCSA has broken ground, and then immediately south of NCSA is the Thomas Siebel Center for Computer Science. And so you've got a lot of activity in that area, as well as obviously the parking deck. So it's going to have some services up there as well that we're looking forward to.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Any further
much.
questions?
Yes, sir.
April, would you say that this swapping of parking meters constitutes somewhat of a quid pro quo?
I'm not real good with Latin, but yes. Yes, and what we're doing is, because of the North Campus parking deck construction, there were 11 meters on Matthews, and we're providing 14 meters on Clark Street, and we think that the demand will be comparable, if not more, because we're also going to have the retail slightly west of these parking meters in the parking deck, where people will be hopefully running in and out and running in to get coffee and copies made or whatever ends up in that facility. So, yes, and we are providing an assurance. We are providing spaces in excess of the numbers that we consumed at the North Deck.
So we could accept this as a policy of quid pro quo.
Say yes.
Yes. I mean, we think they're comparable. It's comparable meters. If that's the question.
Well, a quid pro quo for swapping property.
No, I would not consider it that, Mr. Whalen, but I'd be glad to take that up with you at some point.
See that this is not any kind of precedent at all.
This is for meters only, that we're talking about this exchange for.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Well, I guess that's all the public input. Is there anybody else that would like to address us? Council members, anybody would like to address the public here? Yes, Ms.
I just
Pat?
wanted to wish Mr. Walden a happy 48th birthday.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Bruce.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Walden. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. I've been working for you 27 of those 48 years.
Very good. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2003-1-12-141, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for use of right-of-way, Fish Alley. Can we have Bill, can you give us a rundown like you did today to me?
Sure will. We have a request from the property owner in concert with one of the tenants to use a portion of this alley. It's part of a dead-end situation, and there's not a lot of space for dumpsters needed in this area, so they would be occupying some of that right-of-way. And also there is a HV, heating, ventilating, air conditioning unit that would be protruding over the airspace, if you will, of this alley right-of-way, Fish Alley. So we have developed a license agreement for the allowance, and it has very similar language to other license agreements we have considered in the past when right-of-way is being used for private purposes. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Milton.
Unfortunately, I didn't get the exhibit that was, I guess, supposed to be attached in our packets. Where are these going to sit exactly? Is it going to be in the alleyway where people are walking, or is it sort of behind a building? Or I'm trying to understand.
It's Fish Alley is a east-west alley immediately south of Main Street. It's immediately adjacent on the north side of the deck, the parking deck.
Okay.
And it's a dead end into the deck, actually, and it's immediately south of the 115 West Main Street. So if that helps you visualize it, I apologize for the exhibit not being here, but we'll have it for the next
All right,
council.
I think I understand where it's at. Thanks.
Any further questions? I have one.
Actually, if you look at the next agenda item, there's an exhibit that shows where that alley is.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
So, Bill, what exactly does this grant them? Does it grant them ownership in any capacity anyway?
No, the city owns the alley. It just allows them to put something in the right-of-way, in this case dumpsters, a dumpster, and secondly, it allows them to have this HVAC unit cantilevered over the airspace of the alley. So that's what it grants.
Okay. Yes.
I just have a question. We've been talking about adding recycling or providing recycling opportunities for businesses, and I'm just wondering if at some point the council expands recycling opportunities for businesses, or if the businesses downtown or who have their garbage collection on Fish Alley would want to also have a recycling receptacle. Would that be included, or would we need to just slightly amend the
I
license?
think that would be included. That would be understood.
Okay.
I mean, it could be one or more components. So I wouldn't see that as a need to amend it.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, this air conditioning unit that would be cantilevered out into the alley, if that fell for any reason, would we be liable for that?
Well, according to the agreement, we're indemnified. So, I mean, someone may sue us, including, but according to this agreement,
We'd be held harmless?
we're to be held harmless, yes.
Any further questions? Thank you, Bill. Yes.
I didn't know if we are going to take both of these motions in omnibus fashion, in which case it makes sense to have Mr. Gray continue on, or if staff wanted us to send this ordinance to council with a recommendation for approval and then go on to the next. So I suppose what staff direction there is on this.
Well, yeah, and I was thinking that this would be a perfectly good time to ask him questions about that, too.
Should ask Mr. Gray to present the other item.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do.
Okay, thank you. The second item then is the same location, same alleyway, but it's a walkway that's over the alley, which connects the second floor of the parking deck to 115 West Main. And what we're doing in our research, we discovered that this walkway was paid for by the then property owner of 115 Main when the parking deck was built. And so the city was fully reimbursed for that construction, but we have language, there's actually an agreement for that review of the plans and specifications and payments, but the agreement is silent on maintenance and future repairs and what have you. So since we were talking to the property owner regarding the alley use, we thought we would also include the walkway and memorialize that it is 115 West Main's responsibility to repair, fix, replace, remove, if needed be, the walkway or bridge access from the deck to 115 West Main. So we have an agreement that I think articulates what's involved with the ownership of that walkway, and the owners are aware of this agreement and are supportive of entering into an agreement.
So this is, there is another walk or entry off the garage, isn't there? To
Yes,
the building?
that's true. There is a second one at the extreme northwest corner, which is the 125 or 123, I forget now, West Main. And I think it's our desire, we would want to, in the near future, contact that property owner and do a similar agreement here, so that it's clear that it's not our responsibility.
Do they gain ownership of this by this arrangement?
They've paid for it. You know, we allowed it to occur. This occurred back in the 80s. So there was an agreement to allow the construction of this walkway, and they paid for the walkway. But we just didn't have the loose end of the maintenance part.
So again, does this pass on any ownership rights to this walkway to the owner of the building?
The physical structure of the walkway would be ownership of the building, yes.
Okay, thank you. Would it please the council to send this to the council in an omnibus fashion? the two?
It would.
I so move.
I second.
It's been moved that we send item 5 and 6 to the council for approval. Any discussion, objection? Well, will the clerk please call the roll? Oh, you don't have to in this, I'm sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes. Thank you, Bill.